Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty. A brand new Wrestling Insider Special Edition begins now. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome back. Dan Marty along with D'Lo Brown. As you can tell, we are outside of the auspices of our beautiful studio in Boston, here in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, the new home of D'Lo Brown, at least on the outskirts, so you can stay away from that crazy traffic. But it is a pleasure to have you here with us. It has been quite some time since you've been with us, cutting the hair of Warbeard Hansen, Hurricane Ivar, and throwing the hair on his grandmother. I mean, that was a hellacious act.
I was a bag, but it's okay.
Well, now we're talking about more positive things.
Yes.
The summer turns to fall, fall turns to winter. We are excited, as you can tell, even though I am in Las Vegas. I have on this delightful Santa Claus shirt. I am not Mick Foley. But I'm doing my best to replicate the good that Mick can put into the world with what we can do with the toy drive that myself, Paul Bearer, and John Cena Sr. started back in 2012, just 3 months before Paul Bearer passed away, I should say. We're very lucky that WWE and NXT and a lot of the major companies pitch in to try and help with what we do. You have become an ambassador this year. You were so kind to sign those pictures before you left after that big live stream we did that one of the two of us ruined that knocked over the computer. I'm not going to name
We're not going to
names.
name names. The computer kind of fell.
Might have been the guy in the Santa Claus shirt.
We're not going to point fingers. We're not pointing fingers. We're not.
All right, tell us about you, D'Lo. For the fans that may not be all that familiar with you, that may just know you as this outstanding athlete from the Attitude Era, tell us about D'Lo Brown. Where are you from? Growing up, what was life like as a young D'Lo? When you were a lowercase D.
When I was a lowercase D, I grew up in New Jersey, a small little town called Burlington. Grew up a wrestling fan from the time I was 9 years old. I loved it. I remember telling my sister, like 10 or 11, this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. And, obviously went on to college, played some football, but then came back home and dove back into wrestling, and that's when my professional career took off. I went to the Monster Factory, trained there for a bit. Yeah, trained there for a bit. Made my way down to Smoky Mountain, where I was just Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, and wrestled there for about a years. And then went to work in the Midwest, down in Puerto Rico, until I finally made my way to the WWF, WWE in early '97.
That was a hell of a way to sum up about 5 episodes.
Bro, condensed, short to the point.
What are some of your first memories of wrestling? Do you remember seeing certain stars, certain angles, certain matches? What sticks out in your mind from what I imagine was it WWF at that point?
No, it was still WWF.
Okay.
But my first recollection was, was seeing like Andre and Vince McMahon,
Go do those interviews. When Andre was on the box,
yeah,
it looked like about 10 feet tall.
Vince was at Andre's belly.
Yeah.
And then I remember seeing stuff like, Dusty Rhodes bleeding, getting beat on by, who was at the time, the Russians or whoever.
Ivan Koloff.
I remember seeing the Rock and Roll Express win the NWA World Tag Team titles from Nikita and Ivan in a match that went 45 minutes on TV.
Well, she
So it
had
took up the
cable,
entire hour.
you had cable television pretty young.
Well, this was our local channel out of Philadelphia, Channel 17, would show this.
Oh, because they ran Philly.
Yes.
Yep,
so
yep.
so it was part of the territory. So we would get the TV there, and then later on we would get these like blocks of wrestling where it would show you WWF, World Class, UWF, Florida Championship Wrestling. You'd get all that on a Saturday afternoon. So, I'd get up in the morning and obviously watch Saturday morning cartoons, and then it was the wrestling block, and then finish with Kung Fu Theater. That was the end of the day. And then when if I go to my grandma's house, she had cable, so we'd watch Super Station at 6:05.
Yep.
6:05 was the time no matter what was happening, you were done playing at 6:05. So that was my exposure to wrestling. Then I used to go to the Philadelphia Civic Center and the Philadelphia Spectrum all the time when I was younger. My aunt Tracy and my aunt Pat were big wrestling fans, so they would take us. So
you would go into, just so the fans that might not be familiar with it, you'd go to see both live WWF events at the Spectrum, and then at the arena you'd see
Civic Center,
NWF.
yeah. You'd see NWF at the Civic Center, you'd see at the Spectrum, you'd see WWF. And
Wow, lucky guy.
Yeah, and then for those who were lucky enough to have cable, there was a local cable company called Prism. So when WWF would have a live event on Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, they would replay the entire event on Prism. So if you didn't make it there that night, it was get your popcorn ready because we're going to watch a live event from Philly that next afternoon. So.
And sometimes a little further down the road, they take some of the undercard matches and they put it on primetime wrestling.
Yes.
We had the same in Boston. They were on Nesson, the New England
Okay.
Sports Network, and they'd record the garden shows.
Mhm.
If you had the Nesson channel, you'd see the whole show. If you didn't have Nesson, you could still pick up some of the undercard matches on primetime with Gorilla and Bobby, which to me was one of the great wrestling shows and one of the most underrated wrestling shows of all time. The chemistry that they had on Monday night, I wish it still existed in 2021.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Those two were like an old married couple in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Because they argued like they were married, but yet they were funny together and entertaining together, and they complemented each other so well. It was like, it wasn't watching a show, it was like watching two friends talk about wrestling. And that was the cool thing about that.
The wraparounds were as fun as the matches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed, that was a good show. I enjoyed that. I remember, Tuesday Night Titans were on, and then it kind of morphed to Raw, but it took a while, it was always the sit-down shows, because everything kind of mimicked like Johnny Carson.
They tried to reincarnate primetime a couple of times. When they were pushing that Ico Pro, remember they had the little studio audience, and Vince would come out in the zoo bars and try and get people going, and they'd have guests, and then they tried to do almost like a round table sit-down with Vince, Bobby, Mr. Perfect, Jim Duggan, and Hillbilly Jim, or other rotating guys once in a while. And it wasn't a bad show, but it wasn't that magic that Gorilla and Bobby had on those Monday nights. I remember when I was a kid, I didn't even have a TV in my room. So I'd have to sit in my parents' room and watch it. And I'd hear them downstairs. I'm like, oh no, don't come up and go to bed. I want to watch the rest.
I want to see the end of this. I get that.
So, you know what? When I heard those footsteps coming, I knew I was hoping the match was going to get over pretty quick, because I didn't have a VCR back then for it. But, I mean, even the glory days to me, what I could, even though it wasn't a weekly show, the greatest, maybe special is the term of all time, Saturday night's main event.
Oh,
on
God,
NBC.
that was huge.
Forget about the squash matches, baby.
No.
From the live arena to the NBC.
And that was big because that made wrestling was big at that point. It was on real TV, real free TV. It was so big it would knock Saturday Night Live off. And that, today people, the Saturday Night Live we have now is not the cultural phenomenon it was in the 80s and the 90s. Like, it was 11:30 at night, East Coast time. It was must-see TV. So for wrestling to preempt the godfather of Saturday nights, that said something. And then you would get the matches you would never see. You would get Hogan Savage going at it, or you get Andre, or you get the
Remember
referee
the
double
great
heel
cage
switch.
match with Hogan and Andre crawling down the cage at the same time?
So, I mean,
that was the first time I ever saw that finish, where they both landed
Double
almost
step.
simultaneously. Yeah.
But that was big to have that program under, because like you said, there was no squash matches. It was culmination of angles or storylines. It was a pay-per-view before there was. So it was kind of cool.
And it was, for the fans that couldn't maybe go out and afford to see it at the house show.
Right.
This was the culmination of it. This was at least the end of it, where you at least get to see it once. And then from 88 through 91, when it was really hot, they'd have that once a year in February, the Friday night special, the main event at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
And you talk about huge, the first one, February 5th, 1988. I always remember that date because I got my first dog on that date. Hogan and Andre, look at the ratings that they do. And again, there's a lot of great things about wrestling in 2021. If you want to talk about TV ratings, 33 million people for Hogan and Andre on NBC.
That is amazing.
How many months of Raw would it take to get to 33 million people for a 1 hour show?
I mean, that number is stunning.
And then you look at the business it did the next day, because for the fans that may not remember, that was the infamous night they did the evil twin referees with the
Yes, they have their twins.
And Hogan, after just over 4 years, lost the title even though his shoulder was up. The next day in the afternoon at the Boston Garden, they did a matinee with Hogan and Bam Bam against Andre and DiBiase, sold out. Then they took a plane down to Philly. You might have even been there for
I
it.
might have been there.
Hogan and Bam Bam against Andre and DiBiase again, same card, different city. That sold out. So you're talking in one day, just for the A team, never mind the B and the C teams,
Right.
they probably did about 35,000 people.
And that's
That's how hot it was.
Yeah,
back then.
wrestling had it's got its peaks and valleys, and in the mid to late '80s it had a big peak, and then it kind of came down until the mid '90s, and that's when Attitude took off, and then it kind of cycled down a little bit. Then the Ruthless Aggression took off. So wrestling has the cycles, and I think we're in an upcycle right now. If you look at the overall arc of the business right now, you look at Impact and AEW and WWE and companies like Ring of Honor. I mean.
Well, I kind of look at that almost in two ways. I think Impact right now, I think AXS is in a channel that, is one of the easiest ones that you're going to find right away. But for the fans that have found it or have checked out the pay-per-views, they have really liked it, and they realize that Impact is on an upswing again. I think if you look at AEW, that's a company that really has some momentum behind it.
They don't got
right
momentum.
now.
They're strapped to a rocket right now.
Then on the flip side, you have Ring of Honor, which really has a pulse to it. I don't even know how to find it on my TV.
I get it out here all the time.
Yeah?
I can see it every Saturday if I want to.
Okay.
And they've got some real good quality talent there. And they put out some compelling matches. So, I mean, I enjoy wrestling. I enjoy the pureness of wrestling. So I literally watch wrestling. Out of the day, I'll watch 10 hours of wrestling a day.
I think they've missed the boat where after now, they started in 2002, a year after us. They've never had, we're on one channel at one time every week. You have to go really, almost like back in the days when we were kids, during the territory days, you really have to go searching for it. And in this day and age, when especially young people want that instant gratification, they don't want to go searching for it. They just want to know, it's going to be on TBS at 7 o'clock every Tuesday night or something like that. And I think that's hurt them. I think that's why they've never really grown to the level that Impact has, where it has, television deals all over the globe. You know what I mean? Which has really helped.
That's helped us out a lot, tremendously.
Yeah.
And getting on access is a big thing for us. And for us, YouTube has been a great partner. Because you can watch all our shows on YouTube, and it's amazing. If you have the internet, you can find something out there.
And it's really cool right now that you have that interpromotional scenario going on with AEW, where it's so hot. And like we mentioned, you have some veterans, you have some young veterans, and you have some independent guys that are just fresh off of that scene, that are cutting their teeth on the major league level, that are hungry and really want it. And then at the same time, you have this great relationship going on now with AEW. We're on AEW's hot TV show. They mention it in Impact. Like
Yeah,
it's part of the family. It's a great thing.
Kenny Omega's been our world champion right now. Currently, Christian Cage is our world champion. Our guys, the Good Brothers, go over there.
Yep, they're on all the time. Yep.
We've got this open door policy between the companies, and I think it works out well, and it gives these fantasy matchups that you would never have seen in days gone by. Because before, here's my territory, here's my talent, leave them alone. You'll never see that cross-promotional stuff. So I kind of like that the forbidden door, as it's called, being opened, and Impact is working with New Japan and AEW and AAA, and it's like, let's go, let's show the world. If we claim we're the best, let's go show the world our talent can wrestle with the best out there and be the best. So I love it.
For so many years, it was just WWE, and that's like saying the NFL only has one football team.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's why I think we've seen a pretty big decline in the overall fan base right now. That is where there is so much variety now. It's starting to come back a bit, which is exciting. I tell you, I think the independents were absolutely dead up until NXT became something of great interest. I think NXT made independent wrestling cool again, because
I agree.
All of these guys on NXT that are going on to Raw and SmackDown, they're all coming from these little shows at high school gyms and VFW halls and places like that. And so for all the people out there that, they may not be the world's biggest Triple H fans, I think they owe Triple H a thank you, because NXT really helped independent wrestling thrive again. When there was a time when it was dead. And as someone that worked the indies, you saw that firsthand.
Oh, I've been around. I've watched the indies be strong, and then I've watched them fade off. So I've been in the same building for the same company a couple years apart, and one time you have 1,000 people, and then a year and a half later you got 100.
Yeah. And
it's no fault to the company. It's just the fans didn't want to see it. But I think right now, you can look through the history of wrestling. Competition breeds success.
Absolutely.
And competition helps the entire spectrum of the business out, not just one company. It helps everybody. Because when you show the fans the multiple amount of options they have, it's like going to a buffet here in Vegas.
Yeah.
You stop and there's your crab legs. You look down, oh my God, there's steak. And you look down and go, oh my God. And that's all wrestling today. It's, there's WWF. You don't like that, there's NXT. You don't like that, there's AEW. You don't like that, there's Impact. There's New Japan. I mean, I have people now who will tell me, I'm waiting until 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm going to watch the Dome show in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was never a thing for me. Like, we couldn't do that.
Imagine if the internet existed during the territory days.
Oh my goodness.
But I mean, it's also, maybe a good analogy is for sport fans is a hot division in the NFL. I mean, I come from Patriots land. I mean, for the most part, it's the Patriots, and then you have 3 teams that are struggling to hit 500.
Yeah.
Miami, Buffalo, and the Jets. More often than not, Buffalo is on the upswing.
Buffalo's on the upswing now.
But I mean, when you have a hot division, when you have 3 or sometimes even 4, 500 teams, that makes for some exciting football. And I think that's almost like what we're seeing in wrestling right now. There's a lot of great athletes on almost every brand you put on any night of the week. Whether you're a fan of the creative or not, that's a different story for a different time. But when you see bell to bell, there's great bodies of work going on right now.
Yeah, there are superstars of every caliber, on every promotion that you can watch on TV right now. There's someone you can hook on to, someone you can believe in, someone you can want to be like in every company. And that is
huge.
That's so different than it ever was. Because before you had 1 or 2 guys here, you had 1 or 2 guys there, and that was it. Where now you got it's like Baskin Robbins, it's different flavors. You have something for everybody.
Even during the quote-unquote Monday Night Wars, you had WWF, you had WCW, and you had ECW. Now there's so much more variety where WWE has developed in their own universe these different brands. I mean, it just extends it. And now AEW, they have 2 different TV shows in prime time. And Impact has Thursday night to itself. And Ring of Honor is still out there. And MLW, who we didn't mention, that's a group that has some pretty good talent going on with it, and all the international promotions. So I mean, there really is. Sometimes you got to search, but when you find it, there may be some great stuff out there right now you don't even know that exists that you love, along with the independents.
Yes. And
so there you go.
Here's a great thing. Right now, wrestling is literally on every day of the week.
Yeah.
What a good time to be alive. What a good time to be alive.
No off season.
No off season. I don't care. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, wrestling fans, unfortunately, we got to go. We're going to take a brief time out. Going to let you know more about our favorite time of the year, Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. Stand by. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night.
It hits different live with WWE Super Show. Don't miss an epic main event.
Drew McIntyre and Kofi Kingston, King Woods, The New Day, Roman Reigns, and the Usos in a six-man tag team match.
Will the new arrivals on the blue brand disrupt the dominance of the Bloodline? It's WWE Super Show in Boston, Sunday, January 9th. Tickets and Superstar Experience packages on sale now.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insider's in-studio shoot interviews on eBay with this brand new personally autographed WWE Royal Rumble 2021 11x14 poster signed by WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, his advocate Paul Heyman, and Kevin Owens. Reigns and Owens battled for the Universal title in a last standing match January 31st in the Thunderdome in Tampa. This limited edition collector's poster is number 31 of only 50 produced. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself. Also comes with an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus autographed 8x10 photo. Get this rare, awesome collectible for your man cave and help keep wrestling legends working now. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, we invite you to join former ECW World Heavyweight Champion Justin Credible, also Aldo Montoya, from the WWF New Generation era in the mid-90s for a live episode and cyber autograph session for the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive this Saturday night, December the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get ready for Wrestling Insider's Extreme as we help Santa update his GPS to find every kid this Christmas. Order your 8x10 photos now. Visit bostonwrestling.com. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Having a lot of fun here on Wrestling Insiders with the, official debut here on the Boston Wrestling.
Yeah, I'm loving
You've been
it.
with us with live events, but never on the talk show.
I've never sat on the couch, so I'm happy to be here on the couch. I feel like you're a therapist.
When we get you to the studio, there's no couch though. You got to sit in the chair.
Okay, I'll deal with the chair.
You can do it.
But
Tony Atlas
I
does
could
it.
lay down right now and
If you wanted to.
No, never mind. It's much like a therapy session.
Dr. David Reese is an acclaimed psychiatrist involved with a lot of major league sport teams out west.
Mm-hmm.
He's the president of our organization, and he offers free help, and this is in all seriousness, to anyone within the industry. If they ever need any assistance, just look him up online on social media. He might not have all the answers for you, but in a day and age where, it'll be a while by the time this episode is. We had a pretty tragic situation happened not too long ago that began on Twitch.
Yeah.
This can, for all the great things we've talked about, it's a business that can have its struggles. It can lead to folks suffering from depression and other issues like that. So it's great to know that there are the David Reeses of the world out there. There are, depression hotlines, suicide hotlines, and things like that. And, it's a shame. This is an industry that loses too many far too young as it is.
It is.
For the preventable ones with a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, mental illness is a real thing and needs to be addressed like any other illness, just like a cold or the flu or anything else. It needs to be addressed And if you're feeling sad, lonely, depressed, talk to somebody. Just reach out and talk to somebody. If somebody always like me who wants to, I'll sit and talk to you all night long. So if you're feeling any of those, reach out and get help, because help is whatever you think is a problem today, tomorrow you'll laugh at.
Yeah, and you know what? And you're always going to feel better about it.
You'll always feel better about it.
So it's just a matter of trying to get the right person at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So just look, and hopefully, you know what, we can see less and less tragedies. I think one great thing we can say about wrestling in 2021, we haven't had the tragedies like we had for a while, and for about 10 years, it seemed like every few weeks we were losing one of the brothers, you know?
It was tough. There was a minute there where, like you said, it was like every time you would get over one passing, there'd be another one. And it was just boom, 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 boom. And I think at some point, I remember talking to a friend of mine, I was like, I don't think I know a person who's lost 300 friends. If you think about that.
It's amazing. I mentioned during the live stream that we did, just look at the mentors that I've had in the business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, granted, if they were all alive today, they wouldn't necessarily be considered young people, but most people do make it to their early to mid-60s.
Yeah.
They all should be with us
Mm-hmm.
in some capacity, and none of them are.
Yeah, wrestlers are like Great Danes. We run hard, run fast.
We sure do. Dan, that's why Dan's liking it so much.
Yeah,
Pure 11 at the MGM. Anyway.
The MGM was a fountain of misinformation. Hey!
I tell you this, though, back to some more fun stories, fun times. Hopefully the fans will take heed to what we just said, though. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are willing to help, and I bet you there's a lot more people out there that care about you and your situation than maybe even realize.
That is true.
So keep that in mind, too. But back to the story of D'Lo Brown, again, when he was the Little D. As you had all this great wrestling at your fingertips, what got you to the point where you said, okay, I love going to the Civic Center, I love going to the Spectrum, I love spending my Saturdays watching this, I want to do this?
You know, it's weird because it wasn't the physicality that drew me to wrestling. I didn't know what it was until I got older and got into business, but I was in love with the showbiz aspect of it. Like, I love the sport of wrestling. I love the competition, but I love also how this person can have an entire arena under his control and make them cheer or boo or sit up or, you know, I love that. And I love being part of that. And that drew me to it. It's like, man, that dude is cool. Okay, this is cool. And just to see the electricity and feel electricity in the Civic Center or the Spectrum, or even sitting at home and watching Dusty Rhodes reach out and go, touch your hand and my hand, you know, like that stuff, it was like, I like that. I want to do that. And then I always kind of had a flair about myself when I played sports. So there was always D'Lo Brown, but he didn't have a name. He was just an attitude I had when I played high school football or amateur wrestling. So.
Oh, you were a wrestler?
Yes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's why I love wrestling. I wrestled all through high school. So I enjoy the overall package of what wrestling is. Yes, the physical part is fun, but I love the entertainment part of it too, where you get to go out there and show the world who you are and all eyes on me. I've always been, pardon my French, I've always been an attention slut. So give me all the attention. I'll take it all day long, and I'll give it back to you, and I'll entertain you. But please, you know, I love that.
Like you said, beyond the physicality, there's so much more. It's, you know, part athletic competition, part rock concert going away, part action adventure movie part away. There's so many different elements to what we do, and I don't think people appreciate that, because there is that misconception that, oh, you know, everything they do is fake, or they're on a big trampoline, and those type of foolish thoughts that people have sometimes. But if they ever took a minute to maybe learn about the industry in just a few minutes about what it is, how it's done, and so on and so forth, the magic behind it, it really is magic. There is no other form of action, adventure, Hollywood, sport, entertainment out there in the world that I can think of.
It is the modern day version of theater and around.
Yeah.
And we are part actor, part stuntman, part improv artist, part magician. You're all this in one person in a ring. We don't get any redos. We don't get any
One take.
It's one take.
One take live.
And I've had people tell me, okay, it's fake. You can't fake gravity. So I don't care who you are, gravity's going to pull you down. I remember sitting on a plane one time, and a guy, we're having a conversation. He recognized me, and he goes, "Oh man, that's kind of fake." And I was like, you know what? Do this for me when you go home tonight. Get on the edge of your bed and roll to the floor, and just hit the floor, and then stand up and do it again. And I go, that's what I do 30 times a night.
Great answer.
That's what I do 30 times a night. So, yes, it may be predetermined. The Avengers are predetermined.
Sure.
But
and
you
people
go out,
love that.
no one comes out of the Avengers and go, Iron Man doesn't exist, he's fake. They come out and go, did you see what happened if Thanos did this? What we are is entertainment with a physical aspect, and it's meant to tantalize your senses in every sense of the word. A good wrestling match to me is one that can make you laugh, cry, be mad, be happy, be angry as hell. That's a good wrestling match. If you can put all that in a wrestling match, you're good to go.
And you mentioned the Avengers. 2-hour plus movie, however long it may be. How long did it take for Avengers to be made?
Oh,
Weeks?
a year probably.
More? Okay.
Yeah,
How long does it take to put together a live 2-hour wrestling show?
2 hours. You got 2
See
hours.
what I mean?
And if you run long, you'll pay more money. So it's 2 hours.
Bingo was his name-o on that one.
Yeah, it takes 2 hours.
I love it. I love the answer that you gave that man.
And
I'm going to guess he probably didn't do it.
No, but he looked at me differently after I explained it that way. Because everyone has a misconception that the ring is a mattress or a trampoline.
Yeah.
And they think, well, it just absorbs. And no, it's like a boxing ring. It's got to hold you up. There's a little give, but the little give is so the ring doesn't break. I mean, and literally it's like hitting this floor repeatedly, over and over again from height. When you take a bump, you're falling from 3 or 4, or even, who knows, top rope, you could be 10 feet in the air. That's why I say you can't fake gravity. Gravity still hurts.
Not to continue to bore people with my story too much, but I think it was done in a way not to abuse me, but to teach me respect for the industry. Again, 13-year-old kid in high school. The first night I was around it, got me in the ring. Oh, you want to see what the ring is like? Sure, go in. The chops they laid into me, and then the body slam I took, I saw stars. I legitimately saw stars from when they picked me up, scooped me up, and slammed me down. Now, granted, I probably didn't take the bump right, because I never known how to bump, but it taught me a great respect for what those men were doing. And I'll say one thing, as much as I love a lot about what's going on in 2021, I think that's one thing that's missing. I don't know if you'll agree, disagree, or maybe be somewhere in the middle. There aren't enough guys out there that have that manly look to them.
Well,
You know what I mean? It's almost like what Kevin Nash said, and I thought it was a great quote, that they look like a bunch of Abercrombie and Fitch models, where they want to be handsome, sexy, however you want to put it. I think one thing, a lot can be said about WWE right now, and they're creative and so on, but one thing I think they've really been doing right, I think you have 2 great kick-ass champions, and Bobby Lashley on Raw, and Roman Reigns on SmackDown. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of guys that back in the day when we were kids, you wouldn't see guys that are 5'8", 5'9", coming out there with their, 8-packs in some cases, and that just don't look like they could harm you in a fight. It looked like, and even going back to the days of Tony Rumble as a kid, it was a locker room with a bunch of, even if they weren't in tremendous shape, bigger guys that looked like they could hurt you pretty bad if you ever got into a physical altercation with them. I think that's one thing maybe the business misses a little bit nowadays. And even when you look at some of the top guys in some promotions, they do tend to be a little on the smaller side and not the most violent and dangerous looking people. I think that's one thing the business as a whole misses in a way nowadays.
I mean, for me, I'll give you an example. I'm not the smallest guy in the
No.
world. And I'm probably 40 pounds over my prime fighting weight. But I was one of the smaller guys in the WWF locker room. Like, people walk up to me all the time and go, I didn't realize how tall you are or how big you are. I'm like, well, when you're around people who are 6'8" and 6'9",
Yeah.
it makes you look smaller. I'm 6'3". I'm not a small dude. But when you're walking the land of giants, I'm a midget.
How big and I consider him one of the most underrated guys of all time in the business.
Mm-hmm.
How big would X-Pac be nowadays on WWE?
X-Pac was long and lanky, which gave him a little bit more because X-Pac is 6'2",
Yeah.
6'3"-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
He'd be
long.
one of the bigger guys.
Yeah. Oh, if he were on TV right now, he would. Yeah. I mean, he's a big boy, but you don't realize that when you're standing next to 6'5", 300-pound Billy Gunn. Or,
and he looked like a little twerp.
Yes,
back in the
but I
90s.
mean, he's a big guy. He's a bigger guy. But yeah, a lot of the guys who were undersized back in the day would be, super heavyweights today.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a big fan of his. He's got a unique personality, but you know what? This is someone that absolutely just loves our industry. You guys had some great matches together during the Attitude Era, and I hope we get a chance to talk about it at some point. It's certainly not going to be during this series cut. We have a lot to talk about as it is, but man, when I look back, at least from what I've seen since 1986, when I was a little guy and became a fan, I think he's one of the more underrated guys I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
He could do everything with everybody.
To me, one of the hallmarks of being what's considered a great worker is they have the ability to have a match with anyone, regardless of their size, their age, their body width, weight, whatever. You can go out there and have a good match with anyone of any different style. That says something about you. And X-Pac is one of those dudes. He'd go out there and have a match with. Didn't matter if it was me or Taka Michinoku or The Undertaker or Bret Hart. Didn't matter. He was going to go out there and perform and do it well, and always have a good showing for himself. So one of my favorite guys in the world, and I think he and I could have a match in a phone booth. For young kids who don't know what a phone booth is, he used to be on corners. Never mind.
I'd love to have him do one of these interviews. He's done some live events for us in the past, and just such a great help. Someone that always is willing to take the time and share with the young guys his knowledge, wants everybody to get better. He knows his time is much, much closer to the end than the beginning, if he even does. I know I recently read something that he wanted to do another 10 matches or so.
I think he wants to have one more little mini.
Yeah, a little mini, and that'd be great. Because you know what? I think he deserves it. I think maybe the respect and the honor that maybe he didn't receive during a lot of his career, when he was considered the quote-unquote one of the smaller guys for a lot of the time. I don't know if people, unless they maybe really went back and looked at a lot of footage of him, realized just how outstanding he was.
Go get on the WWE Network and go back and watch his stuff when he came in as the 1-2-3 kid. Watch the evolution of him as he changes into X-Pac.
Yep. And
maybe his look changed, but his work continued to grow and improve, and he is by far one of the best out there. And I love him. I miss him. I did one of his talk shows too. We sat for 2 hours talking about our history together. So
I bet that was good.
It was amazing. It was awesome. It was very. I have very fond memories, and when you get to relive them again, and you get to relive them with the person, that doesn't usually happen too often. Usually, you're in an interview situation where I'm talking about that person like we are now, but when you get to actually talk to that person, and we're talking about it, man.
Sean, if you're watching, brother, we need to get you in the hot seat. I know you love Cali, and you're having fun on your own podcast right now, but that doesn't mean you can't share some history with us too. But tell us, you talked about your great athletic background.
Mm-hmm.
I remember almost being shocked, just knowing the state itself. The first time that Jim Ross said on television, he was a Maine black bear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And not to profile anyone or anything, but not what you'd expect in a lot of cases. What brought you to the great state of vacation land, as they call it up in Maine?
So I went to a local college in New Jersey, played football there for 2 years, and then a coach knew a coach who was up in Maine and asked if I would like to visit the campus and do our transfer up there. So went through back and forth in that and transferred up and spent a little quality time in Orono. There's 3 things to do in Orono: eat lobster, shiver, and try to dress warm. Those are the 3 things you do. Because right now, we're recording this in September. It's probably a foot of snow on the ground already.
No kidding, right?
There's 2 seasons in Maine. There's winter and there's tundra.
Did you go to school all 4 years then?
No, just 2.
Just 2? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
It must have been quite a cultural experience.
It was.
It's a cultural experience for me when I go up. I can't imagine someone from Jersey.
It's a different way of life. It's a little laid back. It's
odd.
Just know this. Always leave the bears alone. Don't go near them. If you see one walking, go the other way. Don't run. And
Don't run.
Don't run. And don't just lay down because then they just beat you up. Just
Well,
walk
I wouldn't
away.
do that either.
Just walk away. Don't make any loud more noises. But yes, it's very different when you come from I came from a little country, little town, but Orono's a different kind of place. It's out there. There's nothing there. Now it may be different now. I mean, we're talking. I'm trying to help the city. Shit, brother.
It's a great place for, I think, younger kids to go to school and experience life in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. The thing I think about college is you go to experience life on your own, so you know how to live on your own. So you want to go to school in a place different than what you grew up to show you can work, you can be out in the world. So I enjoyed my time there. Yeah, I was very happy when I moved back to Jersey.
All right, fans, we were getting the cue from the back, I think. I saw a lot of arm movement from Adam Lou, who's actually a double-jointed Devo.
He's double-jointed.
Show him, fan.
Oh, my God.
He can do some crazy
I don't want to
things.
see it.
Not as crazy as what this one was doing at MGM. But anyway. All right, wrestling fans. Again, it is that time of year again, the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks. We're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back with more D'Lo Brown to wrap up the show. Stand by. Wrestling fans, we warned you this day would come. Unfortunately, we're running out of original episodes of Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty each and every Thursday night at 10 p.m., but we're starting up that Indiegogo. You can help the cause. You can help Marty's show continue each and every week. Nobody does it like Marty. We had an incredible time with him at our 20th anniversary bash, November 13th at Memorial Hall here in Melrose. We want to have the good times keep on rolling, but we can't do it without you. Look for the Indiegogo link in the comment section below or across our website and social media platforms. We have some great perks, great rewards where you can even meet Marty himself. There's nothing like it. Since July of 2020, every week we've brought you the show. We need your help to keep on going. We tell you, without wrestling fans, there is no professional wrestling, and there's no better time to help the cause now. Let's keep Marty rocking each and every Thursday night. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now available on eBay.
At Night of Champions 2020, Tribal Chief Roman Reigns successfully defended the WWE Universal Championship against his cousin, Jey Uso, in a must-see battle. Here is your chance to own a piece of Roman Reigns moments before battle on this beautiful limited edition autographed 11x14 poster direct from friends at WWE. It's number 19 of only 50 made. Includes WWE authentication hologram on the poster itself, suitable for framing and matting. You'll also receive a bonus Legends autographed 8x10 photo in an on-air shout-out on Wrestling Insiders as our thanks for helping keep Wrestling Legends working. Get this ultra-rare Roman Reigns autograph poster now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, we invite you to join former ECW World Heavyweight Champion Justin Credible, also Aldo Montoya, from the WWF New Generation era in the mid-90s for a live episode and cyber autograph session for the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive this Saturday night, December the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get ready for Wrestling Insiders Extreme as we help Santa update his GPS to find every kid this Christmas. Order your 8x10 photos now. Visit bostonwrestling.com. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. Wrestling Insiders, Dan Marty with the Wrestling Insiders debut of D'Lo Brown, having a heck of a time, reliving some great memories in this great sport, as I still call it. I don't know about you,
It is a sport.
In my mind, it'll always be that. We talked about you being a Maine Black Bear for a little bit. At what point after graduation did you say you went back to Jersey and decided to go test out things at the Monster Factory?
Well, I spent a year in back and forth to Jersey and Manhattan. I worked in New York City as an accountant doing accounting work there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I spent a year or so, a little over a year doing that, but I would come home on weekends and my friends were still, backyard wrestling. They'd roll around, so they would rent a ring every now and then and put on pay-per-views where we recorded. We had our paper-mache belts and everything. And we'd rent Larry Sharp's ring. And
oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
You rented it out for that?
$50 an hour. He'd let us have it for about 3-4 hours.
Wow.
And he would usually get his money and leave. He didn't really care. But we'd rent his ring out, and that was my first exposure to a ring. And then one time Larry hung around, saw us, and said, "Hey, you're pretty big. You ever think about doing this for real?" At the time, I was close to 400 pounds. I was really big.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not that heavy?
Well, I spent that whole year in New York eating Chinese food every night, drinking Heineken. I was still eating like I was playing football, but I wasn't playing football. So I got really, really big, and then sitting, long story short, sitting in a cubicle was never meant for me, so you get a little depressed.
Yeah.
So anyway, he finally saw me, said, "You ever think about doing this for real?" And I said, "Well, not really, but yeah, I'd like to try it." He goes, "All right, sell 50 tickets, you can be on my next show." So I sold 4, bought the other 46 myself. Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
$10 a piece. I bought the other 46 myself. It was my first investment in me. May 7th, 94, I was on my first show.
Wow, we broke in not too far apart from each other. Isn't that weird? Granted, you've done a hell of a lot more, but right around the same time, yeah.
Different roads. Well, all the roads led us to this room right here now. But yeah, May 7th, 94, I had my first match against a guy named Dave Dutch. I'll never forget him. And from that point forward, that $460 was a good investment because it kept turning itself over. So I'm very happy. And here I am, 30 years later.
He put you on a show without any kind of training, just as long as you sold those tickets?
Well, because he saw I was capable of wrestling. Because we did professional style matches, me and my friends. So pretty much we trained ourselves, which is odd to say in today's day and age. But he put me on. Had a great little match. Match ended in no contest. And 3 months later I was in Smoky Mountain, and 2 years later I was in WWF.
Now, did you start to eventually go to the Monster Factory to start?
Yes, I did go for a bit, but then within 3 months I was doing dark match or enhancement work for WWF, and then I got the job in Smoky Mountain probably 4 months into my official training.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I know Earthquake was one of the guys who did enhancement match work in WWF. Who else?
I've worked with Yoko and Owen. I've worked with.
Is it an enhancement guy?
Yes.
Okay.
With the Quebecers.
Oh wow.
In a tag match. Earthquake was he was the nicest guy I've met in my life.
Everyone said that. I met him only one time when he was doing the Golga.
Mm-hmm.
When he was one of the oddities. I never really met him as Earthquake, but what a nice guy.
He's one of the nicest.
You talk about a bear, my God.
Yes. I remember in that match, in the enhancement match, and it got edited out, but he clotheslined me and hit me here with his fist. And the look of shock on his face, and all I heard was, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He goes, "Are you okay? Let's do it again. Let's go. Can you do it again?" "Yes, sir." And we got to the back, he couldn't have been more nice. I mean, he apologized. It wasn't like, big league in this kid because I'm a star. This is my hand. No, he'd hurt me and he felt bad. Ironically, a couple years later when he came back as Gold and I was there, he recognized me from that enhancement match and was like, I thought you had the potential to make a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was good.
And when you worked those enhancement matches, were you AC Connor?
I was AC Connor, I was AC Corner. The funny one, they called me AC Corner one time because it was a tag match. And Pat Patterson goes, today you're AC Corner because that's where you're going to stand.
And what were the paydays like back then? Was it $150?
No, I want to say you were getting, it might have been $300 a day or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, it was
wow.
good. It was good money, and back then they would do, I don't know if you remember, but they would do a block of
Right.
tapings. They would
It
do
wasn't one tape.
No, it was like 5 days. It might have been 500.
You'd have Raw, then they do Superstars, then they do Challenge.
Yes, and you would take 4 weeks of each.
Right. Those
So
were long days.
Yeah, so you would take a month of each one of these shows. It might have been 500.
Wow.
Because I remember coming home and like, wow, I can actually pay my bills. I want to say, because I remember coming home and counting and counting again going, I've never had this much money in my hands, like from wrestling. So, yeah, they were good little payoffs. You wanted to get on the enhancement work. You really wanted to get on the enhancement work. And you wanted to get on, you wanted to get on the list where like Pat liked you because then he would put you in, if there were bad matchups that came up, they would kind of switch to, maybe we could put him here. That's why I was AC Corner, because you stand on the corner today because he liked me. He didn't want me to get beat up.
Was Pat the one responsible for booking the extras at that point?
No, but Pat was when you got there.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, the extras usually would come, like they would call Larry Sharp. Larry, who you got in the Northeast?
Can you send 4 or 5 guys?
I need 5 guys ranging from this size to this size. He would look at his crew and go, hey, who wants to go? I'll send 4 or 5 of my best, because he's trying to send his best talent there.
Sure, he wants his school to look good.
Yeah, so he's not going to send his newbies there, but I was athletic and picked up wrestling really quickly, so I would get sent with him.
Now, I know you said you were pushing 400 at one point. Did you start to slim down?
Oh yeah, once I got in the business, I realized either you have a decent body or really good looking body, or you're grossly fat. There's no one in between. And guys who are kind of in between get left in the waist. You either have to be an Adonis or Earthquake.
Right.
There's really so yeah, I started quickly trimming down after that, and I was at about 280 when I first went to WWF to work, and then got as low as like 240, I think.
Oh wow!
At one point.
So describe the first experience. Do you remember the first arena you did enhancement work at?
The Rochester, I think it was the War Memorial.
War Memorial.
Yes.
Yep. And I can imagine there must have been some butterflies in that stomach when you were there.
It's you don't realize. As a kid, I knew what it was like to be out in the crowd and hear the music and hear the roar of the crowd. It's a whole different thing when you're inside those barricades. And I remember walking down that ramp that first time and then looking around and going, oh shoot, oh man. But then you get in there, you got to get in the ring, and then you're nervous. You're like, okay, don't mess up. Okay, camera, red lights on. They're watching me now. And so it's a lot of stuff going on. But then the faster you can get more comfortable with that kind of environment, the easier it becomes. And now, drop me in front of 100,000 people, and I wouldn't care right now. I wouldn't. I remember being in the Tokyo Dome and looking up in the crowd and saying to myself, there are more people in this building tonight than in my hometown.
Wow. Isn't that a funny way to look at it, yeah?
Yeah, there's more people sitting in one building than my entire town, the entire town I grew up in. And I was like, okay, let's go to work now. So yeah, it's a little shock and all, but if you want to be out there, it quickly goes away and you get right into what you're doing.
Did Larry Sharp tell you what to expect, or did you just kind of?
No, Larry didn't, but Headbanger Mosh and Thrasher, they were the head trainers there.
Mm-hmm.
So on the ride
they
up,
trained at
yes,
Larry Sharp's school?
yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Thrasher, Glenn Ruth, he was Larry's head trainer. So I had those two, as long with Dwayne Gill, because he was on the ride too, because they bring guys from Baltimore too.
Mm-hmm.
And so sitting in the rooms at night, they would say, okay, here's what you're going to expect tomorrow. Here's what you need to do tomorrow, and that's what they would say.
Do you remember who your first opponent was? Was it Earthquake? Or?
I want to say my first opponent was Earthquake. They all blend together. I want to say it was Earthquake, and then it was like Quebecers. Because I've probably done enhanced work about 30 times. I've had about 30 enhanced matches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you had quite a variety.
Yeah, because over the course of I did 2 loops, so 2 different sets of tapings. Then when I went with Smokey, I didn't do another one until I came back, was in the Midwest, and then I did the Detroit, like Valparaiso and Fort Wayne, Indiana, or Muncie or something like that. And that was my last set of enhancement matches. And then a year later, I was brought in to be D-Lo.
Did you have a favorite guy that you worked with as an enhancement talent?
Bob Holly beat the piss out of me. But that's says Bob. That's the way
That's
showing
Bob,
love.
you know, yeah.
I think it was Earthquake, just because the way he was more concerned about me being safe and me getting out there and get experience than, obviously he's worried about himself doing his work.
Right.
He wanted to make it a good experience for me as well, which not a lot of guys did that for you back then. So Earthquake was probably my favorite enhancement guy.
And sorry.
I can tell you most scared I was the Quebecers.
Why is that?
Because I don't know if you remember the Quebecers. One of their finishing moves was Jacques would put you in a Boston Crab, and Pierre would come up the second rope with a leg drop to the back of your neck. Well, you're blind, you can't see it. So I remember I'm going, of all the things, I never want to wrestle Quebecers. And I don't want to take that Boston Crab leg drop. So you get to that day, and lo and behold, I'm working the Quebecers. Okay, and then they go, what do you want to use for a finish? People use the Boston Crab, and you can't say no at that point. And I'm like, okay. Okay. But obviously they took care of me. But just that, seeing moves like certain moves on TV look devastating, like a DVT always looks scary to me. Stuff like that. So, but I quickly got over it. It was fine.
What did you think of Jacques? He's someone over the years we've had many different 80s type legends come in, and some kind of like him, some not so much.
I didn't have much interaction with Jacques other than that one enhancement match. Now Pierre, I got to know better. As he came back as the Pierre the Pirate. Remember?
Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Yeah. And then I got to know him a little bit as PCO, his new incarnation.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
So that's kind of cool.
That is.
He does now.
He reinvented himself.
Yeah.
50 plus. Come on.
Yeah, not a spring chicken.
No,
not a spring chicken.
Reinvented himself and worked so hard to sign a new contract. That is
good for him.
That's amazing.
Good for him.
But so I don't have much interaction with Jacques other than. You hear stories, and I don't comment on stories because that's someone else's perspective.
Right.
I only comment on how you are to me.
Did you ever get to the point where you worked so many enhancement matches that you thought, I'm going to get pigeonholed in this position and I'm never going to get out of it? Kind of like Dwayne Gill, outside of that Gilbert thing, which was kind of just a joke. His entire career was enhancement.
Enhancement match. You get that thought. It's like, everyone's telling you got to be up there so everybody can see you, but then you don't want to get that stigma attached to you that you're just this job guy.
Right.
So it's a fine line. Like I didn't do it all the time, and I made sure there was gaps in between it.
Oh, smart.
So it wasn't like I would go to every set of TV tapings. So I would be there, and then you wouldn't see me again for 6 months.
Would there be times maybe you'd turn it down?
I never turned it down. I just made myself not available to answer the phone.
Oh, okay, smart.
Because if you turn it down, then you're saying no.
Right, and they definitely don't want that. That's a good way to do it.
Yes. So I made it
Very
available.
smart. Very smart.
Oh, There's something up here.
You didn't want to be the Tom Stone of
No, I
1994.
Look, and you know, Barry Horowitz had a great career, but I never wanted to be the next Barry Horowitz.
Exactly.
You know, I wanted to be Ron Simmons. I wanted to be that dude out there.
And funny enough, I'm sure we're going to get there in the series, but think about how you and Ron would interact over the years. Another friend of the show, another friend of our organization. He was actually the only superstar outside of Paul Bearer himself that actually helped with one of the Paul Bearer toy drives when he was alive.
Really?
So, damn!
Damn.
Another great guy. Can't wait to see Ron. He's going to be participating in this year's holiday headlocks as well. He's back again down in Hotlanta. He's loving it, but you know what? We got to bring him up to the cold, fans. Whether you can join us in person for one of our interactive endeavors this late fall, early winter, or anywhere in the world on Cyberville, there's plenty of ways you can help out on the Paul Bearer Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive, so we can help update Santa Claus's GPS to find every kid on the planet on December the 24th. You talk about those TV tapings being long nights.
Mm-hmm.
Santa's got a busy night, December 24th, brother.
Man, there's so many time zones around the world. That brother flies and flies and flies. Man, I still know how he does it. I'm an old man. I still know how he gets it.
They say some of the lucha guys move fast.
Oh, no, Santa.
What's Chris Kringle doing, brother?
Yeah, bro. Flying like, going.
All right, fans, for our friend D'Lo Brown, I'm Dan Marati. Have no fear. He'll be back again soon. For D'Lo Brown, I'm Dan Marati. You and yours, be well, be healthy. Good night from, not Boston, good night from Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.